The message contained only 3 words: "Leave now." Lena Carter read the text over and over on her phone screen as thunderous applause echoed throughout the auditorium. At the front of the room, her younger sister had just stepped onto the stage to receive her diploma. The entire family was smiling, chatting, and competing to capture the special moment on their phones. No one noticed the sudden change in Lena's expression. The sender was Ethan, her husband, a man so calm that he almost never allowed emotion to creep into his voice. Lena immediately called him back. He answered before the first ring had even finished. "Take our daughter and leave right now." Ethan's voice was low and tight. There was no explanation. No time for questions. What frightened Lena was not what he said. It was the way he said it. In 12 years of marriage, she had never heard that tone before. Lena took her daughter's hand and stood up. She gave her relatives a simple excuse and quickly left her seat. As she passed through the hallway behind the auditorium, she accidentally noticed her Uncle Richard arguing with a stranger. The exchange was brief but tense. The man handed Richard a brown envelope. Richard immediately slipped it into his jacket pocket. Before Lena could process what she had seen, her phone vibrated again. "Hurry." Just one word. She tightened her grip on her daughter's hand and quickened her pace. Outside in the parking lot, the air seemed unnaturally cold. 2 gray SUVs were parked side by side near her vehicle. 4 men in black suits were already waiting. Lena's daughter instinctively squeezed her mother's hand. A quiet sense of dread spread through Lena's body. One of the men stepped forward. He spoke her name before she had the chance to say a word. "Mrs. Carter, we need you and your daughter to come with us immediately." Lena froze. Everything was happening too fast. Too precise. Too much like a plan that had been prepared long before she arrived. For the first time in her life, she realized she might never have truly known the man who had slept beside her for more than a decade. And what frightened her most was the possibility that Ethan was not the ordinary man everyone believed him to be. The vehicle carrying Lena and her daughter left the city before the sun went down. No one explained anything. No one answered her endless questions. The only person who spoke was a female security officer sitting in the front seat. She told Lena that everything would be explained once Ethan arrived. But Ethan did not come that evening. He did not appear at midnight either. Lena barely slept. That may be the safe house they had been taken to was clean, quiet, and unsettlingly cold. Her daughter had fallen asleep hours ago. Lena sat by the window, staring into the dark yard outside, trying to piece together the scattered fragments of information racing through her mind. The stranger, the brown envelope, Ethan's message, and the people who seemed to know exactly who she was. The next morning, the door finally opened. Ethan walked in. His face was pale. His shirt was wrinkled. His eyes were bloodshot from exhaustion. For the first time in years, he looked less like a man who controlled every situation, and more like someone who had been pushed beyond his limits. Lena did not wait a single second. She demanded the truth. All of it. Ethan sat down across from his wife. Then he began to talk about an investigation that had been ongoing for years. About confidential data stolen from the company where he worked. About powerful people who had quietly profited from that information. And about the fact that he had become the most important witness in the entire case. Lena sat frozen. At every family gathering, Ethan had always been viewed as the most ordinary man in the room. Quiet, reserved, uninterested in attention. But the truth was exactly the opposite. For years, he had been secretly helping build the case for one of the largest investigations Lena had ever heard of. What hurt her was not the danger. It was the fact that she had never known any of it. 12 years of marriage, 12 years of trust, and now she realized there was an enormous part of her husband's life she had never been allowed to enter. Then Ethan said something that left the entire room in silence. If you had known everything from the beginning, you would never have been able to live a normal life. And for the first time, Lena could not decide whether she felt betrayed or protected. The weeks that followed unfolded in a rhythm that felt completely unfamiliar. Lena's family was relocated to a small coastal town hundreds of miles away from their old home. No one called it a hiding place. But everyone understood that was exactly what it was. Their daughter adapted faster than any adult could. She quickly made new friends and began talking about school as though nothing had ever happened. Lena was different. She started looking at Ethan through entirely new eyes. For the first time, She noticed all the small details that had been there for years. He always chose a table near an exit. He always checked the locks before going to bed. He always paid more attention to the people around him than seemed necessary. In the past, Lena had dismissed those things as strange habits. Now she understood that they were part of the way he survived. Late one evening, after the entire house had fallen silent, Lena found Ethan sitting alone on the porch. The ocean breeze moved through hair now touched with strands of gray. For the first time, he no longer looked like a strong man in control. He looked like someone who was simply exhausted. Lena sat down across from him. Neither of them spoke for a long while. Then Ethan finally broke the silence. He admitted that the thing he had feared most was never the investigation. It was never the people who had been exposed. What frightened him most was the possibility that one day his wife and daughter might pay the price for his decisions. Lena felt a lump rise in her throat. For so long, she had believed she was the one who had suffered the most, but now she realized that Ethan had been carrying that fear every single day for years. A few months later, the investigation officially came to an end. The danger gradually disappeared. Normal life slowly returned. But Lena knew that one thing had changed forever. She no longer saw trust as knowing every secret the person you love carries. Sometimes love is not found in the things that are spoken. Sometimes it lives in the burdens people quietly choose to carry in order to protect their families. And for the first time in a very long while, as she watched Ethan smiling beside their daughter in the small kitchen of their new home, Lena understood that some truths do not divide people. They simply teach them to value one another more deeply after the storm has passed.